Sometimes a game can get very far on just one clever mechanic. Black Lab Games' deep space strategy Starhammer The Vanguard Prophecy is one excellent example of this. If you were to replace its signature WeGo combat system with traditional RTS or turn-based mechanics, you'd end up with an unremarkable, derivative experience propped up by a forgettable campaign. Thankfully though, Starhammer's excellent combat transcends its rather lackluster presentation. So here's how it works. At the start of each round of combat, you'll assign movement trajectories to your corvettes, destroyers and battleships. The enemy AI does the same unseen. Once you're ready, you click play and your ships carry out your instructions in real time, simultaneously with the enemy fleet. A few seconds pass and then the game pauses again to let you take stock of the situation and plan another move. Okay, maybe it doesn't sound all that exciting when I explain it, but in practice it's a tense duel of guesswork and second guesswork as you try to predict your target's direction while maintaining formation and keeping your strongest shields angled to intercept enemy fire. It's a simple concept, but the game adds plenty of complexity to keep you on your toes. Generally it's best to group your fleet together for protection, but that means some careful planning if you want to avoid accidentally ramming into your own capital ship. Collisions are not only hideously damaging, but can also knock out your ship's engines for a round or two. That's bad news when a full barrage of plasma is headed your way. Thankfully the game ghosts your planned trajectories so that you can see where each ship's model will end up after a move, and these transparent images flash red when an impact is imminent. There's also several planes of vertical space, so you can pull up or dive below an onrushing vessel in an emergency. Depending on the tactical situation, you can also adjust the power settings on each individual ship. If your fleet is taking a hammering, it might be best to revert all power to shields, enacting your repair bots as you do so to slowly regather your strength. If you're racing past an oncoming fleet towards an objective meanwhile, pumping power directly into your engines might be a better bet. Starhammer is also smart in that it never swamps you with a huge number of ships to control, which could turn a game of quick, tactical decision making into a bogged down mess. You'll only ever control around 5 vessels, and it's the key differences between these vessels that you'll need to master in order to succeed. The first ships you'll use are the Raider and the Corvette, speedy little devils with forward-facing laser cannons that rely on manoeuvrability rather than armour to escape punishment. Frigates are slow support ships that pack both a front-facing stun cannon and a formidable broadside, as well as an invaluable sensor disruptor that detonates missiles before they can reach your fleet, and from there you'll upgrade to battleships and dreadnoughts, which offer ludicrous firepower and, in the case of the latter, several squadrons of drone fighters that can either defend your convoy from fighters or swarm enemy capital ships. What the game absolutely nails is the feeling that spaceships are not just point and shoot gun platforms, but slow, unwieldy juggernauts that operate much more like naval ships of the line and require you to take both facing and formation into account. For a game that keeps things relatively simple on the tactical side of things, there's still a huge amount to consider every time you plan a turn. Do you want your frigate to head straight onto those enemy vessels, utilising its stun cannon to disrupt their line, or is it better to play defensive, fire off a missile countermeasure and peel slowly off for a long range broadside? Do you storm right through the enemy line with your flagship, risking a damaging collision, or do you skirt the edge of the battle zone picking off their lighter ships before engaging the heavy hitters? In Starhammer you won't overwhelm the enemy with sheer numbers or rely on tired rock paper scissors mechanics to win. Victory requires planning and careful, tactical application of your limited assets. Judged by its combat system alone, Starhammer is a triumph, so it's a shame that the rest of the game doesn't quite match up. The campaign is a half-hearted conveyor belt of repetitive missions in which you repeatedly mop up huge swarms of Nautilus ships. These bizarre insectoid foes lack shields and gun batteries and instead rely on their tough organic hides and deadly biomissiles in combat. They are fun, unpredictable foes at first, with a number of specialist ship types that pack some nasty tricks, but after 30 or so campaign missions that set you up against the same enemy forces again and again, even Starhammer's excellent combat struggles to keep your attention. There's just not enough variation in mission structure. You're periodically tasked with escorting valuable VIPs or defending key locations, but the ultimate goal is almost always the same: wipe out the entire enemy fleet. The few subsystems present in the campaign don't do much to flesh things out either. There's a crew morale mechanic that encourages you to mix and match your personnel in order to earn a sync bonus to your capital ship statistics, but you're limited to rather boring percentage increases rather than anything that really changes the way you approach combat. A defensive-offensive stance system that apparently governs which side missions are unlocked is similarly half-baked. You earn points towards each stance depending on the approach you take in battle, but the game's so heavily skewed towards offensive play that I couldn't work out exactly how I was meant to rack up a defensive score. Nevertheless, I'd still recommend Starhammer despite its disappointing campaign and the lack of any kind of multiplayer. This is the most effective and fun space strategy combat system I've ever played, and it kept me playing long after it became clear that the game's story really wasn't going anywhere. Black Lab is really onto something here, and I'm hoping that the development team treats this game as a proof of concept and builds upon that excellent core mechanic in the future. With some more creative level design and a fully fleshed out campaign, Starhammer could have been something really special. As it is, the game scores a respectable 7.5 out of 10. For more reviews, previews and other content from GameWatcher, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Twitter at GameWatcherCom.